Hey pals, how's it going? You guys thought I would never get to it, but I'm finally gonna do it. I'm gonna do a movie review. I just got back from Alien Covenant. It basically starts out the same as all the other films in the franchise, a ship out in space. But what makes this one different is that it's a colony ship. They sent humans to go colonize an Earth-like planet, so kind of reminds me of the plot of Passengers right off the bat. But the crew is awakened by a solar blast or something like that, and the android Walter wakes them up. And after they repair the ship, they get a rogue transmission from an Earth-like planet that they haven't discovered. And I'm just gonna say spoiler warning because I really can't really talk about much about this movie, and I can't really go in depth with reviews without spoiling it. It's better probably not to watch this if you haven't seen it. Yes, so they end up arriving at the planet where Dr. Shaw from Prometheus crash land the engineer ship. That's what we're led to believe, and all hell breaks loose from there. First thoughts after watching it were Michael Fassbender was amazing in this movie. He essentially played two androids, but he gives them distinct characteristics because they're programmed differently. And to me, that was the heart of this movie, was Michael Fassbender's performance, and him as David especially. As far as the actual alien aspects of the movie, it's pretty much more the same. The crew are a bunch of characters that you don't really come to care for because you don't spend enough time with them. That was the same problem. One of the same problems I had with Prometheus. Eventually, they all die one by one. Daniels is a stand-in for the Ripley character in this go around. There is a new type of alien in this movie called the neomorph, I guess. Me and my friend were talking about it after the movie. It kind of looks weird seeing like the CGI aliens. It doesn't look the same as the original movies. I'm not saying that because like I have a nostalgic point of view for it, but in like the first couple movies, the aliens were caught in like tight spaces, so you can use practical effects and like bodysuits. But when the alien is out in the open in some of these scenes, it looks so ridiculous, like running on all fours like a dog or something like that. Just kind of threw me off. There were some moments that are genuinely like the first Alien, where you can feel some of that tension, albeit not as much. I mean, Ridley Scott came back to direct it again, but I don't think he was interested in as much as the gore and I guess scare tactics as he was with the first one. The first Alien is a masterclass in suspense. Because there isn't as much action in the first one. It's one alien on the ship, and it's kind of a throwback to that in this and some of the scenes, especially towards the end where the alien's kind of following Daniels through one of the cargo cars or terraforming cars, but it looks like it was right out of the first movie, which, yeah, was cool. It's just kind of a good throwback. What I mean by I think Ridley Scott wasn't as interested in, the terror aspects of that he can experiment with. I mean, you can't really do much more than it's already been done in the last movie and in the first movie. And like in Prometheus, it's really just a retread. But I think he was more interested in David and the whole aspect of creation, of course. And that's just a theme carried over from the last movie and made it the most interesting to me. Of course, paired along with Michael Fassbender's performance, it just really brought a new aspect to it that seemed, like I said, there's some of that stuff that's been retread in the other movies, but adding some of those ambitious themes gives it something different. But it's not like it was bad, but it feels like it's been done before when I'm talking about like those old-fashioned alien scares. But the action kind of ramps up and stays going for pretty much the whole movie once they get to the habitable planet, which was nice. It was pretty fast paced. It seemed like shorter than a lot of those alien movies because of the pace, which was nice. But the big part of the first Alien movie was that it built that suspense, before the chestburster came out, and I forgot his name, John Hurt's character. So that was a big thing for me. It felt like a retread, but it also brought new aspects, which I think made it worth it. So it wasn't just a sequel, because it makes me think that Ridley Scott wanted to explore those themes more, but he had to keep it within that franchise mind, of Hollywood nowadays. You gotta keep those scares going and push the xenomorph into there. But one of my favorite scenes is when in the flashback of David and Walter talking. There's, of course, bringing creation into it brings a lot of religious aspects. But just the flashback where David's in the ship and he releases all the pathogens to kill the engineers. It was really epic. And, of course, biblical imagery comes into my head. But that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And just, like I said, David and his whole character, basically the movie begins and ends with him and is about him, I would say. That's just little nitpicky things, like after I guess we cut away from David and Walter's fight, and okay, you're obviously going to know that Walter isn't going to come, and it was so predictable that David was going to be on the ship at the end, which kind of annoyed me. So it just had this weird thing where he had to get enough time to get like those eggs into his mouth, cut off his arm, and get to the ship as they were leaving. And it's just like, all right, well, what I thought would have been cool is that David gives like these ideas to Walter and he makes his own decisions from there, because it would have been a little bit better to have David seem like he can carry on a legacy in another android. I don't know, it was just something I thought would have been cool. But of course, David's there in the end. I mean, the ending works fine. He gets to use his human host as his experiments. I felt Danny McBride was underused in this movie. This could have been a real good showcase for his other talents other than comedy movies, you know? And we didn't see much between his wife and his characters, so I couldn't, really feel for him, but I felt it could have been a good showcase for him. So I was slightly disappointed, but he did well in the movie. I liked Prometheus, just for many of the same reasons I liked this movie. I mean, it's Ridley Scott. He's going to have great visuals in his movies, and even though it's a blockbuster, he'll try to put something a little bit deeper into it. And Prometheus had that with David and some of the other themes that's just continued onto this movie. So that's why I say it's worth the price of admission. And it was kind of cool to see what happened after Prometheus, because that ending kind of left you on the edge. Not a lot of the answers were explained that could have been from Prometheus, but it was still kind of cool to fit all those pieces together. It would have been cool to see Shaw in this movie too, but I think it was satisfactory the way it explained what happened after. And yeah, that's what I liked about this movie, were those, more heady themes than just alien jumps at you and kills you, And I'm guessing they're going to make another movie in between this and that kind of bridges the gap between Alien and this. I don't really know. They kind of leaves it pretty open for the next crew to come and, die, except for the female character. But even if that happened, I'd be interested in seeing it, because it was worth watching. I'm not going to bash it just because it was more of the same. I mean, of course, first Alien up here. Second, Aliens, rightly so, in second place. More of an action movie, but, has all those memorable quotes and dialogue from that movie. And it was just fucking badass. But Alien 3, oh my god. And its Resurrection, I won't even talk about. Alien 3 had, it could have been good. But David Fincher didn't have all the control that he needed. I would definitely put this as number 3 in the franchise. Well, I wouldn't say 3rd in the franchise, because I'd have to put it tied with Prometheus. What kind of annoys me, I think it's been brought up in a lot of reviews before, is how the technology looks more advanced than the ones in the computers and stuff in the first Alien, even though that takes place after. It would have been nice for them to just kind of recreate that look for the Prometheus and this new one. But it's a new age, so I guess they can make it look sleeker and not as clunky as a huge old personal computer running the ship. So my final verdicts on Alien Covenant were, I would recommend, if you haven't seen this, I don't know why you're watching this, because I already spoiled it, but it's still worth watching, honestly, just for Michael Fassbender, and that's basically my final verdict. It's see it for Fassbender. That's about it. I would give this one 3.5 out of 5 beers, probably the same rating I'd give for Prometheus 2, and I look forward to another Ridley Scott directed Alien if that happens. He's pretty reliable when it comes to this franchise now from these two movies. And I can see why people hate on Prometheus, but it has other aspects to these movies that make them worth watching for the visuals and for some of the stuff that goes deeper. So that's basically my conclusion to this. And yeah, I recommend watching it. I hope to keep doing movie reviews like this. And I don't know, I'm just still experimenting with this because I don't want to spoil too much in these reviews if people haven't seen it. So we'll see how this turns out. And like always, I appreciate you all. Thanks for watching, and cheers, pals.